Well, hello everyone, it's really good to see you. I've been seeing you all day today, so it's really nice to finally be up here. And we've had some absolutely fantastic speakers. It's been great to hear everyone, because I think everyone's had a really positive and powerful message that we can take away. And I think my role as final speaker is really to help you bring those strands together and take action. Because the last thing I want is for Dee and Debbie to be announcing this conference next year and for you to be just dusting off your notes and saying, oh, what did I do? What did I plan to do? Did I do any of it? Actually, what I want you to be saying is actually that was transformational. That helped me step forward in leaps and bounds. So yes, I'm called the Rocking at Your Role Woman because I wrote a book which came out at the end of June. And why did I write that book? Well, about 6 years ago, I started my business, Reflection Associates, which is a leadership and coaching consultancy. At that same point, my husband, who was an accountant, decided to follow his dream, which was to work with young people, disaffected young people. So his salary went right down because there's not a lot of money in helping young people, and my salary escalated. And that meant that I was thrust into the position of being the female breadwinner. On paper, it sounds fantastic because actually I wasn't in a dire position. I wasn't like Sue, destitute, or with £10 in my pocket. But actually, it really changed the dynamics of our relationship. And about 2 years ago, I read an article by a woman in Australia about female breadwinners. And I thought, it just hit me in the gut. And thinking about what Lucy said, how do you know what's your thing? Actually, it might be the way she said it, but it might just kick you in the gut. And that's exactly what happened to me. I thought, I'm a female breadwinner. There are times when I felt resentful about this role because it means that I have to bring the money in. I can't just decide to stay at home. There are also times when actually I'd rather be in the playground picking up my daughter, but I can't. And also there are situations that occur because of society that make it a bit embarrassing, like being in a restaurant with my husband and him receiving the bill and me having to slide the credit card across the table. So I thought, is this just me? Is it just me who has this situation? Because actually, I don't find a lot of women talking about it. I noticed in my executive coaching conversations that some women would say to me, I'm in a role reversal relationship. So I thought, actually, it's not just me. And because I'm an inquisitive person, I started just talking about this sort of thing on the internet and found lots of women coming to me with their stories. Some of them were less than positive. One stands in my mind. I was the breadwinner for 3 years and those were dark days, she said. And I just thought, oh, something needs to be done about this because actually there are some horrible things, and I think I just shared with you the not so positive side of it. But there are some fantastic things about being the female breadwinner. I did some research about what those are and captured them in my book. I'm going to share 4 of them with you today, which I think help women, help men, and help families. Because one of the big things that I've found is that actually, if you look at my Amazon reviews, they're mostly from men who are finding the book so interesting, inspirational, and helping them to understand the lives of women and what women go through. So I'm going to share the 4 with you, and I believe these will help you take action. So the first is ditch the guilt. Who here ever feels guilty? Yeah, okay, so only half of us. So I think that's a good thing. So what I'd like to say is those who never feel guilty, I think please share what you do not to feel guilty, with others, because all of us should never feel guilty, is my opinion. I think sometimes those closer to us know the buttons to press, don't they? They know where that guilt button's hidden. Mine's round here somewhere. And those closer to me just know what to say and what to do to sometimes make me feel a bit guilty. So I would say I'm a work in progress. I definitely do not feel guilty most of the time, but there are still occasional twinges. So how can we ditch the guilt? Well, for me, it's about trusting. Trust that to be happy, you don't have to be unhappy. Trusting that actually, if your family or your friends or those closest to you need you, that they will actually tell you and that you don't need to be second guessing them. Trusting that what you're doing is the right thing. So for me, there's something about replacing guilt with trust and being a lot more positive about how you interact with others. Something that Dee said really resonated earlier. She said, we're leaving a legacy. And would you like your legacy to be that of someone who appeared to feel guilty about things? Someone who appeared to be a person who couldn't perhaps focus on you or whatever they wanted to do because they were always feeling guilty about what they weren't doing. As women and as men actually, we're often really torn. When we're at work, we think we should be doing other things and helping and supporting others. And when we're at home, we're often thinking, I should be giving a bit more time to work, or I should be better, or I should be learning. And so for me, one of the antidotes to guilt is also, as actually Sue said, be really present when you're there. It's not about quantity, it's about quality. So 20 minutes of really present time with someone is much more powerful than being there 24/7 with them, but not really spending very much time with them. So that's what I think we should do to ditch the guilt. I've handed out these little postcards, and on the back of them is really for you just to write down a small thing that you would do. How could you move from guilt to trusting? What might you do to enable that to happen? And how can that help you? You might have lots of actions that are coming from today, getting your fame name, being really very conscious, as Sue was saying, getting rid of those monkeys that Dee was mentioning. Unless you ditch the guilt, you can't do those things. So for me, these keys to success that I'm sharing with you are the underpinning that are going to elevate you to do those things. The second is check your ego. Now, what I've seen are wonderful, proud, strong lionesses in this room. I can see you all doing it. You might not be doing it outwardly, but I see it inside. And actually, I think we've all probably grown at least an inch today, which I'm really happy about today, because we've grown by being with each other, by thinking about what makes us strong and confident. But actually, that ego sometimes can get out of control. And I think sometimes we can be a bit controlling. So for me, there's something about us regularly checking our ego. Just checking, what am I doing? Do I think I need to do it all? Can no one else do it as good as me? What do I have to do to demonstrate that I value what others do and what others say? And I know a couple of people said they work in organisations. How can I get that real feedback that makes a difference? That just helps me check in with what I'm doing. That's a real challenge because people often don't want to tell you, give you honest feedback. So who is it who you could get that from? Is it a good friend? Is it a family member? Colleagues don't want to upset you, your peers, and sometimes those who work for you. Actually, sometimes their job depends on working with you. If they upset you, how is life going to be? So where can you get this honest feedback? We need to be proud. We need to be courageous. We need to walk tall and strong. But actually, there's something about us not getting carried away with that. And recognising that actually, as well as being independent women, which we all are, we're also interdependent, especially if you're part of a family. You rely on others to support you. You rely on workplaces, you rely on clients, on your suppliers. So how will you check your ego on a regular basis? The third thing we need to do is think about our to-do list. Now, who's got one? I think you need to admit it, it's everyone in the room. Don't lie, everyone must have a to-do list. I don't think women, us crazy multitaskers, can not live without a to-do list. How big is yours? Yeah, it's forever growing. I know mine is. It's just, almost this amorphous mass of tasks to do and things to do. And even if you've been to wonderful time management programs or, learnt to prioritise, you might have what's important, what's not so important, that sort of matrix. Actually, still there are times when your to-do list doesn't get done. There are times when you get to the end of your day and you might not have ticked anything off, or it might have grown rather than reduced. Yeah. So my answer to that really is to think about not what you have to do, but what shouldn't you be doing? What's that thing that gets in the way of the to-do list that you've written to make sure you do what you're going to do today? For me, it's often don't check my emails 500 times a day. Yeah, it might be just check them a couple of times. Don't get distracted by social media. When I work from home, don't start putting the washing on and start thinking about tidying up the house. You know, those are the things on my don't do list. And I think everyone should have one, because those are the things that sabotage you, that stop you doing all those wonderful things that are going to take you further, that are going to help you reach this summit to success that we're all here to achieve. What should be on your don't do list? I think if you're going to take away anything, you should be thinking about that. And the last thing is to invest in you. Who has me time? Good, wonderful. So I think maybe 50, 60% of the room. What do you do? What do you do for your me time? Swim, wonderful. Run? Walking on the beach, that sounds fantastic. Yeah, I would say that a lot of women are often a bit like martyrs. We give, we give, we give, and we can be quite selfless in our behaviour. But actually, I think if you don't invest in yourself, that is a selfish act. Because if you don't, everyone's relying on you. How can you help anyone else? How can you make a difference? How can you put your all into what you do if you do not invest in you, if you're not resourceful? If you're running on empty, you're not reaching any summit, are you? You're falling at the first hurdle. And I think this investing in you can be tiny. So I think sometimes we make it so large that we don't do it. It can be as simple as just getting enough sleep. You know, I notice so many women who come to me, particularly for coaching, talk about the fact that they've been up till midnight, they've woken up at the crack of dawn, and they're exhausted before they get to me. What can you do on empty? What do you do to relax? Is relaxation a dirty word? You know, taking just a few breaths, just taking a moment to de-stress. And what do you do to have fun? I feel most energised when I've had a girly night out. It might be the gossip, it might be the wine, I'm not completely sure. But it's that gives me back my resourcefulness. And if you don't schedule it in, it doesn't happen. I don't know about the swimmers, the runners, the walkers, how you manage to fit it in. But it's something about prioritising it that makes a difference. It should be scheduled in with every other appointment you have in your diary and not bumped. You know, it should not be the first thing that's bumped. So for me, these are the 4 keys to success that I think are going to help you make a difference after you leave here today. I think they're going to underpin everything you plan to achieve over the next year. Or maybe they'll have a conference in 6 months to let us know. But there's one more, a real bonus really, which I've seen already happening today. Sharing and supporting each other. And articulating it. Now, I know I've kind of whizzed through because of timing, so you might not have written anything on your postcard. But it would be really great if you could just turn to the person next to you and share what you're going to do. Just one little tiny thing that you're willing to share about what you're going to do that's going to make a difference as a result of today. It could be something about moving to trust from guilt, checking your ego, putting something on your don't do list. Or it might be something else. But once you say it, it becomes real. Once you say it, you have to do it. And actually, after saying it, you will have shared an idea. So you would have helped someone else who perhaps wouldn't have thought about that. So I'm just going to give you a minute. Just turn to the person next to you and just share just one tiny thing that you're going to do as a result of today. Okay, has everyone been able to share something? Quite a buzz there. So I definitely know there is lots you're going to do as a result of today. And as you've said it to someone, it definitely is going to happen now, isn't it? Because you never know when you'll bump into them and they're going to ask you, how did you get on with that? So I just want to leave you with a few thoughts, really. Today has been an inspirational day, and I think you've all inspired each other. It's all within you to make it happen. Don't come out of here and sabotage yourself with monkeys or guilt or any of that. Ditch it right now and ensure that you make the difference. Because what I'd love to do is see you all rocking your roles in life and work. So thank you so much for listening, everyone. It's been fabulous. Thank you.